angry at the time, but now thinking back on it, it was a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And, several years went past, and then I started, failing in school, flunking out in college. I went to a secular university, and my grade point average was bad, and my concentration was lacking. I cut class, and, something had to give.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, find some way to starting to deal with really what was going on. And I did seek a little bit of counseling right before my senior year in college.
Mm-hmm.
And unbeknownst to me, my grade point average started to pick up after, I had a little bit of the counseling and took some antidepressants.
Okay.
How
do you feel the IFB has affected your life long term?
Long term, it's just, if it's any indication that I haven't been affiliated with a church in over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want anything to do with organized religion.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's a lot of, by reading and my own soul searching, found that it's basically man's way of controlling other man.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't like the way the IFB treats women.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe that to us? Like, what's your view of the way that the men treat women there in the IFB?
Because I remember going up there back to Dublin for a reunion right before I came out to Nevada, and I noticed that none of the men had any interest in talking to me about politics, business, and here I have a Bachelor of Science degree in business administration.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's just kind of like it was all things like the men just took care of business and politics, the women just took care of the children, or, taught school, or
mm-hmm.
I was just like, I feel it's very, very sexist and degrading to women.
Mm-hmm. And what steps have you taken, since leaving the IFB cult to find healing in your own life? Like, what has your journey in that way been?
I've sought the counsel of a very wonderful woman who dealt with incest trauma. I also read a book called The Courage to Heal, and they had a section on, quote, religion, and I read that, and I was like, oh my goodness,
mm-hmm.
this is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now my experience in the IFB was basically a survival skill.
Mm-hmm.
I tried everything I did everything I could to try to fit in because I just couldn't fit in anywhere else, and it seemed to do more harm than good because I constantly, back in those days before I entered entered recovery, I was always living in fear, self-doubt, don't believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
My self-esteem was nil.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what this does, especially to women.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel? Didn't you write a book as well about your experiences and the abuse and your journey?
I have. I wrote a book about it about 2 years ago. Basically, I chose to start my healing process, further my healing process through writing and poetry.
Beautiful. What's the name of your book then?
It's called Breaking the Silence, A Survivor Story. It's available on Lulu.com, and it's also available on Amazon. And I do have a MySpace page dedicated to the book. My Facebook, it also has a link to the book there. I also have several poetry blogs, and I started a blog to coincide with the book. So, it's a slow process, and especially if you have little or no support, it's harder. It definitely is.
Yes, very difficult journey. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. This was just incredibly wonderful, and it's awesome to have this technology. Like I said, this is pretty fun. We can all actually get to know each other better too over the screen. It's just amazing. I love the internet. Thank God for Al Gore, huh?
I voted for him back in 2000, by the way.
Oh, you did. Well, I'm a real heathen because I worked on Barack Obama's campaign. So how's that for me?
I voted for him too. I'll for change, Jocelyn, because
We're
some of
free.
the way people think is scandalous.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with me today, and we'll get more of these survivor stories on YouTube. I think it's going to be great. It holds these men accountable for what they've done and what they've taught people on how to handle this abuse. I think it, just needs to stop. So, thank you.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right.
It was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us today for this interview, which is part of a series that we're doing for survivors of physical, sexual, emotional, and spiritual abuse within the independent fundamental Baptist cult in America. The purpose of this series is to bring exposure and accountability to the abusers, as well as to bring courage and comfort to the victims across the country. If you would like to learn more about this group, please contact us through Facebook at Independent Fundamental Baptist Cult Survivors and their supporters. Thank you.